All right. Welcome to Seasoned Women's Podcast, the show that is raw, real, and uncut. This show will have everything that a well-seasoned woman is looking for. Seasoned women will highlight people of all walks of life in the ICT and across the country. No topics are off limits. Seasoned women, we're going to make it make sense. I'm just saying. My name is Mary Dean, and I am the host of Seasoned Women. And my guest today is Dereck Reynolds of Huggaday. Welcome, Dereck, to Seasons Women Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. First off, give us a little background about yourself, who you are, and a little something about your organization.
Well, my name is Dereck Reynolds. I'm born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I went to Job Corps in 2013 in Kentucky to learn welding. Then I went to Texas in 2014. I learned how to work on the railroad, and that's how I wound up in Kansas working on the railroad. I lived in Texas, lived in Kansas City. I wound up back in Wichita because I had a son. My son was born here, and I wanted to be close to him. I didn't want to be long distance, and so that's why I wound up coming back. And when I came back, and I started to go to court and fight for my son, I started to realize the different things that was wrong with the family court system, and I was seeing other people's cases and my case, and then after realizing how things was going for dads and how they carried it, that's when I started the foundation, and it's called the Hug a Dad Foundation, and like you said, it's about family court and helping dads realize their rights to see their kids, or helping in the community. We do a lot of different things, and we'll get into that more throughout the interview.
Okay. Tell me, how did you, who was instrumental in you forming your organization of Hugga Dads?
Well, really, it wasn't. My motivation came from what I saw in the family court system, because I didn't really know any other fatherhood groups. I didn't know about any other ones, and so I just really went off of how I felt and what I experienced. And then after I started, then I met my mentor. His name is Dennis Fauntleroy. He started Dad's Care too, and he's been instrumental in how I've been carrying my organization and what I've been doing ever since we met.
No, that's great. Yeah, I've worked with Dennis on several projects. What does your organization provide for dads who are struggling in that child in need of care system?
Well, so what I try to do is I give dads the information that I didn't have, from my experiences. I give dads the information that I wish somebody would have told me, so that when they go to court, at least they'll have to find a new trick to pull on you. They won't be able to pull the same fast one that they did on me, because I'm giving you the information, you know, and it's obviously, it's always, I don't never charge nobody, because I want to build a community of dads where we just help each other out. We help each other with the information that we need. It could be anything from family court to just, change the diapers, whatever it is. We need a community of dads that are willing to help each other, that are willing to pass on knowledge that we have gained as, we have become more seasoned and what this is about. And so that's basically what I've done. And, just giving dads that little bit of information that I didn't know. I've helped a couple dads get, more time than I get. And, just like I said, creating that bond. And, I got a couple things that I'm trying to do in order to keep pushing the narrative of positivity and fatherhood. And, we're trying to make sure that we can influence some legislation to help with the situation, because that's the only way we're going to make any progress for real.
Yes, and that's absolutely right. Do you find that the court system is biased against men when it comes to, uh, uh, trying to get their children or getting more time, child support, all of it? Do you find that the system is
Most
biased against men?
most definitely, I do. And it's just from my experiences and from what I've seen and from people that I've talked to. You know, like with my situation, it's not even about what my relationship is with my son when I go to family court. It's about, you know, who has the better story. You know, is it her lawyer or my lawyer? Who could tell the better story? Who can, weave the better wordplay in and out and, influence the judge the best way? You know, who has the better, in my opinion, who has the better lies.
Mhm.
Because it's never about, well, the teacher said that your son came to school smelling bad, or your son came to school, he was sleepy the whole day, or it's never anything like that. It's always like, well, the judge ordered you to pay this and you didn't pay it on this date time, so we're doing this and we're doing that. And that's my problem, because it's called the family court system, but there's nothing family about it. Their whole thing is to separate. There
Yes.
wouldn't be no family court system if we if dads, if men and women work things out between each other and co-parented together, there wouldn't be no family court system. And that's how you gotta look at it. These lawyers make money off of our inconveniences, off of our trauma, off of our dysfunction. That's the only way a family lawyer makes money. So it's crazy to think that a family attorney has the best interests of a child, because it doesn't make any sense.
Right, right. I found that in this child in need of care system, all these so-called advocates that they have appointed for the child via the court system really doesn't have the best interest of the child at heart at all. Uh, they don't understand
No.
the mental trauma that they're putting them through, uh, and if they're in the foster care system, 9 times out of 10, instead of them reintegrating the children back home sooner with a parent, they keep them in the system longer, and 9 times out of 10, they're farmed out to communities that don't understand the culture. So, uh, based on your organization, do you find things like that is happening with fathers trying to get their kids back home?
Yes, I'm aware of multiple situations of where a mother has lost her kids through different situations, and the dad doesn't know anything about it, and the dad has to now, go through St. Francis or take drug tests and, pass all these different things to get their kid when they wasn't the one that lost them. And in particular, I worked with a dad, you know, um, directly, where he had a situation when he was in another state, and his kid's mother had lost the kids because she was acting crazy, and he moved. As soon as he found out, he left Tennessee, came here, and he had to fight for his kids, and they were trying a whole bunch of different tricks with him, trying to say different things, trying to get him to sign stuff, and he had a very difficult time. But I think because of my experience, and obviously because of his determination to see his children, we were able to work around that, and he wound up getting his kids full time because you know they weren't able to pull the same tricks on him that they could pull on me, and it worked out for him, and I was very pleased about that. But I've seen multiple situations where dads have to work to get kids out of the system, where the mom has lost them, and I mean, depending on the situation, it's unwarranted, and a lot of people don't factor in dads. You know dads aren't considered for a lot of different things when
Yeah.
it comes to our children, and we're just not assumed that we care, or that we want to be there. It's like, you know like, why is this guy so, and you don't realize that having a dad is so important. And for a lot of guys like me who grew up with a dad, who grew up without a dad, we want to reverse that. And
Hmm.
I think that the society needs to get on board with that.
Mr. Reynolds, I know, and you probably know this as well, that when the social system got involved in the families, especially Black families, they did not want the dad in the home. in order for the woman to get any kind of resources, the father could not be in the home. So the father has been targeted as someone that could not be part of the family, and
Yeah.
it's carrying on to this day. That I see a lot of this is happening. There are fathers that really care about their children and really want their children in their lives and want to provide a good, safe environment for their children, but the system says no, because they look down on men as a whole to be involved in with their children.
Yes,
What are
I
your
agree with you.
thoughts?
And in my I agree with you 100%. And in my opinion, it's like a two-handed, thing because you got the system, obviously, family court system or whatever system you want to look at that's making it difficult for dads in different ways. You got that system, and then you got this trend of the single motherhood. You know, no disrespect to any women, but there's a lot of women nowadays who want to be single moms, who want to be able to show that I could do this on my own. I don't need nobody else. Like you got moms who want the Kevin Durant, you're the MVP speech where all the love is given to the mom because she was able to raise her kid through all these struggles and she did it all by herself and now he's a great man. There's a lot of currency in that story where you did it all by yourself. And I see a lot of people, a lot of women who, in my opinion, seem to want that. And it's like, well, I've heard a lot of women say that dads aren't necessary, that you don't really need a dad. I've even heard young men say that I grew up with my mom and I didn't need my dad, but you do need your dad. Even when you grew up and you are successful, you might own a business, you might be a great basketball player or whatever. I still see different things in these people, in these men, where fatherhood, is needed. When you grow up and you don't know how to control your emotions, when you
Mm,
grow up and you don't, you're indecisive or you take things it's too serious, take things out of hand. It's a bunch of different reasons why fatherhood is necessary and important to society and to families, and a lot of people don't take it seriously.
yeah, I find that when, because you're not saying that that children should be just to have a father in the house or a father around them, that if he's a violent person or a
No,
toxic person, that that they should have a man around just because that's a father, right? Or
no,
you
no,
distinguishing
no, and
between
that's the
that, right?
yeah, and that's the thing. Let me just say this first. When I talk about fathers and fatherhood, and I say how men should be around, and I say how fathers and we need dads and all this stuff, I'm talking about the men, the people who fit the definition. I'm not just talking about any guy. I'm talking about dads who, nurture and love their children and want to provide and want to be there. I'm never talking about the guys who are, a danger to their children or to society or to the mom or anything like that. But a lot of times, what I find is that there's a competition between moms and dads about who's the better parent, who's more necessary, and things like that. I feel like you need both. But
Mhm.
when I talk about how important dads are, it's not diminishing mothers in any way. When I say that, these young boys need dads and moms can't do it by themselves, I don't feel like I'm diminishing mothers in any way. I just feel like as young boys, speaking from personal experience, when I was a young boy, I needed a dad to be able to tell me certain things. Just because, just coming from my mom or my grandmother, something like that, certain things wasn't getting through to me. It's like, oh, she a lady or she a woman. She don't understand. She don't know what I'm going through as a dude. And a lot of times that she was right, but I just needed to hear that from somebody else. So I'm
Right.
not saying that moms aren't smart or they can't tell you the right thing or they don't give you the right advice or nothing like that. I'm just saying that regardless of what it is, you need a father. You need a father to
Yes.
go outside, throw the football with you, to help hit the baseball with you, or shoot the basketball. Even though a mom can do these things, You need your dad to do it, and
Yeah.
that's the only thing I say. But a lot of times, a lot of mothers take it as, I'm demonizing them, or I'm putting down them and anything like that, and I'm not at all, because I was raised by, my mom and my grandmother. But I still, now to this day, I see areas where I do need my dad when it comes to advice, when it comes to, how I'm living, because I don't, men and women aren't afforded the same respects, or people don't look at us the same way. So like if I'm trying to change my tire, cops ain't gonna pull over for me like they would for a woman. So
Hmm.
that's what I'm saying. You need a man to be able to show you, this is how you will be perceived and looked at as a man. You cannot be looked at and perceived as your mother.
That's right. Have you heard this saying? There's an old saying that we love our sons and raise our daughters. Have you heard
I
of that?
definitely have. I definitely have,
Yeah.
for sure.
And then I know for a fact, even by my own personal experience, that uh, you really need to have a strong male figure around um, for your boys when they're growing up, because they tend to become angry young men when they grow up, and against, when it comes to women, because they're so angry at their mother. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like you said, the person I heard that phrase from was Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. And, what I take from it is, you teach your daughter how to wash clothes and clean the house and different things like that. They get the they get the nurturing that they need because they see it, but
Hmm.
we don't see our lane or what we're supposed to be doing in the house. So we kind of confused. We pick up some of that, but then we don't really have nothing else to go off. So we might pick somebody on TV or something like that, or we might just guess. I don't know. But when you don't have somebody to show you your way, or what you're supposed to do, you don't know,
Yeah.
and you don't know what you're supposed to do. And so a lot of these young men just grow up without that knowledge. And you know these mothers, a lot of what they do is they coddle their sons sometimes. It's like, you know moms, what I hear from a lot of moms is, I just want my son to be comfortable. And for dads, we want our sons to be uncomfortable, because we want to show you how to deal with situations when it becomes uncomfortable. Because you ain't gonna be comfortable for everything. And
Right.
there's a saying also that nobody grows in a comfortable situation. Growth
Hmm.
don't come from comfortability. So, like, for instance, what happens when your son comes home and say, I had a hard day at practice, I got bumps and bruises, I don't want to do this anymore, and mom give you a hug and a kiss and tell you it's okay, you don't have to do nothing you don't want to do. Whereas a dad gonna tell you, all right, I understand you hurt, but you could pick it up, just wipe this off, let's see how you feel in the morning, let me show you how to do this, let me practice with you. There's different things that a dad would show you or teach you or something like that. And even from personal experience, I was told, I didn't even know about this, but apparently my son had looked at doing track last year, and it was short lived because the kids that were in track were older than him. For me, that's a prime position for my son to be in, because I'm looking at, like, even if you don't do well, you can learn, because you're going against people who are at a higher level than you. And
Hmm.
now when you start dealing with people your age, they're not going to be ready for you. But like I said, mothers and fathers, and not all moms, but in a lot of situations, mothers and fathers approach things in a different way, and
Yeah.
dads are there to make you see how difficult it is going to be for you.
Yes. What does your organization offer when it comes to resources for dads that are looking to get their kids or get more time with their children? What type of
But
resources do you have?
well, I'm a certified life coach. I would like to be able to certify other fathers. I would like to be able to um, offer life coaching resources. Those are some of the things that we're working on building up now. Um, what I want to be able to do is like I'm on the parent advisory council for the Urban League. Um, so how I'm trying to build my organization is that where a father can attain the resources that he needs as far as food, diapers, maybe cash assistance, maybe housing, because um, like say like you have a father who only gets his kids, let's say on the weekends. So a lot of people will look at it like, well, all his money is freed up because he only got the kid on the weekends. But they don't look at, having to pay attorney fees. And, you might have to pay child support as well. And, you got court fees and you might be assigned, the bulk of the medical bills or whatever it is. So then when it comes time for your weekend, you might be a little short on cash because you're paying all this other stuff, all these court fees, and attorneys cost thousands of dollars.
Mm,
And so I think that those are circumstances that a lot of people don't look at when dads are in these court debts, and they're not visible to everybody else. They're going on behind the scenes. I want to be able to help dads out with those different things behind the scenes. Um,
great. That's
um,
great.
so yeah, we're just trying to build up the community. We're doing public speaking, um, trying to build trade school. Um, we're doing a lot of, there's a lot of things that's coming down the line that we're trying to build. And for myself, I'm learning as well. I'm learning how to manage my time. I'm learning how to work with my organization as well as work my job and deal with my family. That's a learning process for me because I didn't see too many you know, uh, men grow up as fathers, as husbands, you know. So I'm learning as I go as well, and then I'm passing that down to others, and
That's
that's
great.
how I feel like the community works.
That's great. That's great. You mentioned earlier about legislation and the kind of change some laws. Are you working with any legislators in Topeka or even here locally to help with that process?
I am. I've been in contact with a few legislators in the House and on the Senate. Um, I was supposed to meet with Mr. Ford over the summer, but
Hmm.
our schedules just didn't line up. He's been pretty cool, pretty responsive to work with. He seems to be on board. I had Miss Olitha Faust Godot come to a haircuts event that I had for dads maybe like 2 years ago. And I was able to discuss some things with her, and she seemed to be pretty understanding of the situation. So my thing is that there are some legislation like the tender years doctrine. Um, you have the best interest of the child. You have the substantial change of circumstance law. These legislations right here are what make it difficult for dads because if you come in, let's say the baby is born. Let's say for dads like me who come into situation family court when when your child is an infant. So you got to think you're going to spend a couple months trying to get the DNA test, waiting for the paperwork to come in the mail, and all those things. So if you get into court, maybe about, I finally got into court when my son was about 8 months. I didn't find out about him until I didn't know about him until he was 4 months.
Hmm.
And so let's say it takes you a couple months to get in the courtroom. Say maybe your child is about 5, 6 months or whatever the case may be. Um, they're going to tell you that, well, and for me, I asked for 50-50 right from the beginning. I wanted everything split in half right from the beginning. So they'll tell you, well, the child has been in this environment for this amount of time. So we don't want to interrupt the child's routine or rotation. So we'll just give you this amount of time and then you come back maybe later and we'll see how things go. Okay. So now as a dad, what you hear is, well, first of all, you hear, I'm gonna be an interruption to my own child. That's
Hmm.
the first thing. you know. And they won't never say that if, let's say, if the mom is taking the kid to daycare, obviously the daycare owner is a person that, nobody in the family knows. Nobody would ever say that about taking your child to daycare. If you took your kid to the YMCA and left them there at the kids area, nobody would say, "Oh, that's an interruption to the child's routine." But when a dad is trying to get his kid, that's what they'll say. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the first thing you hear. Then the second thing you hear is, okay, if I can show the court that I can take care of my child to their standards, then I can come back in a few months and I can get more time. So now you do that, and that's exactly what I've done. And then when I come back a few months later, it's, well, it's already been this long. We might as well just keep it as it is. And
Mm,
so now you track. So now you track because y'all told me wait when I first came, and
mm,
now when I'm here later, now you tell me, well, it's been this long. We might as well just keep it as is because there's no point in interrupting it. So once again, I'm still an interruption to my kid's routine, even though I've been in my kid's life, and and y'all still, slow, what I call slow walking me. Y'all slow walking me on the time I can get with my kid. I might be only getting my kid every other weekend. If you're lucky, every weekend. That's what I've been getting. But you could take your kid to daycare every day. If like if you might be a struggling mom, you might take your kid to grandma house one day, uncle house next day, sister house next day. Nobody would say that's an interruption to the child's routine. They would say the mom is doing what she can to make it. But as soon as a dad asks for time, it's an interruption to the routine. And
yes.
that's one of the things that bug me the most, because if I'm and then when they turn you down, and when they say, well, um you're not, I guess, allowed to get this time with your child, then the other, the attorney that's
Hmm.
representing your kid's mom can ask for attorney fees because you didn't get what you asked for. So the attorney can say, well, I had to prepare this for my client, and they had to pay this amount of money. So we would like to ask for attorney fees, and the judge might award them attorney fees. So now you got to pay more money. You in debt because you tried to see your own child. So now
Yeah.
I got to pay this money. Now I got to pay this money, and for somebody like me, I got other kids. So now you taking money from my house to pay this BS because you wanted to hire this expensive attorney. It's a warp. It's a trap,
Yeah. What do
and
you
that's just
have?
one piece of policy. That's just one piece of policy.
Yeah. And there's so much more I know because I've been
Yeah.
dealing with this child in need of care system for a very long time. What do you have to say to people, to organizations like, or agencies, let me just say agencies like DCF and St. Francis and the court? What do you have to say to them?
Well, one thing I don't like, because I work in the foster care system right now, and one thing, and I work for St. Francis. I was a caseworker for St. Francis, and one thing I don't like is you got these kids that have behavior issues. It might be ADHD, might be anger management, might be depression, whatever you want to say, right? So when you see these kids go through these things, the first thing they seem to do is prescribe this kid with a medication.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, I
Mm.
know personally from personal experience, talking to these kids myself, it might take time, it might take a few conversations, but I have gotten kids to adjust their behaviors just by talking to them. And I'll give you one example. I got this one kid, instead of cussing, instead of just full blown cursing, saying a full cuss word, he might say a word that rhyme with it. Instead of the F word, now he say flip. That's a movement off of his behavior because now he's thinking before he say what he say. So if I can get him to think before he's saying what he say, then that means I can get him to move further off of what he's saying completely and to, change his behavior. Maybe he won't get so angry, maybe he'll be able to control his emotions. So instead of just putting him on these prescriptions, we should talk to, and that's why I'm trying to form. That's why I'm forming a life coaching business because I want to be able to just come and talk to these kids instead of just go ahead and throw them on some medicine. Even with ADHD kids, I have kids who just can't sit still and stuff. Let's put them to work. Let's put them
Yeah,
out there, put them on the side of the highway or something. Give them something to do.
yeah,
Put them in a sport. Talk to them, spend time with them, instead of just putting them straight on the medicine. And that's one thing. That's one of the main things that I do not like. And real quick, another thing I do not like is, you know, not to say that it's like, all right, so if the system feels like, you're getting inconsistent treatment from your mother and your father, you're not getting, the consistency from your parents, right? They put you in a system where you might be respite every day. If you work in foster care, you know what respite is. So
hmm,
now every day, every night you go into a different house, and during the day you had a day program somewhere. That's not consistent. That's not normal for a kid to adjust to. So I just think it's wild how they'll say we're taking you because it's inconsistent and puts you in inconsistency.
one more one thing, one last thing before we end this. When children are shuffled like that and they don't have consistency in their lives, uh, doesn't that add to the trauma, to their mental health, instability, when they're not uh, uh, stabilized in their lives, when they're going through the process of the system, and how the system really, in a sense, kind of destroys the children before they can even get stabilized. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm not necessarily saying that you know because it might be a legitimate situation where the kid is in legitimate harm, and the kid legitimately needs to be moved out of the house. So I'm not necessarily questioning that, but what I am saying is, if you're going to say it's unstable here, at least when you move them to something that's stable. It doesn't make sense, and a lot of times these kids, they don't understand. A lot of the workers, they're not really in it, like really working and really paying attention to the kids and really loving the field, because it is a difficult field, and the pay is kind of low. But if you care about the well-being of the youth, this is something, if you're going to do it, you should do it right. And I just feel like the system doesn't provide what's needed for these youths, and we got to work on that. And I think there's legislation there's needed to be, there's lobbying needed to be done for that as well.
Yes. Mr. Reynolds, I really appreciate the fact that you took the time out of your busy schedule to do this interview for on Seasoned Women. And how can people contact you if they're interested in working with you, or even donating funds to help your organization?
You can contact me on my Facebook page at so the Facebook page is Huggadad, or you can email me at huggadad at gmail.com. I'm not that difficult to find. Um, I'm around. I'm being out in the community as much as possible. Um, we're doing a lot of work, and I do need people to come and help me, partners who are willing to go out on political limbs, business, and media, and different things like that. So, if anyone else is interested, please give me a holler.
Absolutely. Thank you again for all the things that you're doing in the community, and especially for our children, Mr. Reynolds. I can't
Thank
give
you.
you enough accolades for that. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so
And
much.
I do want to say one thing. One more thing. I just want to reiterate that what I do when I speak, I'm never trying to speak down on mothers or on women,
Mhm.
because we need mothers. You need fathers. You need both your parents. That's why God gave you both, because you need both. But there are areas where fathers are more critical, to their sons and to their daughters. And there are areas where the mothers are more critical. So it's not a competition. It's not one or the other. It's not I could do it. It should never be a thing about whether you could do it by yourself or not. It should be what's necessary for the kid, for the child. And if we think about that more often, if we think about who we're mating with, if we try to pay attention to more attention to sexual responsibility, I feel as though that we'll start to stay together more often, and we won't have so many broken families.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again, Mr. Reynolds, for
Thank you. Have a good
doing
day.
this. I appreciate you. Okay.
I appreciate you as well. Have a good day.
You too. Uh, don't, I mean, I stopped. Yeah, yes.